Good evening, gentlemen. Welcome to the Week 8 recap. Week 8's top score and biggest blowout were in the same game, in which Pope 1.0's To Deuce or Not To Deuce blows out Brandon's blown call 167.7 to 77.7, a massive 90-point difference, topping the previous season high big blowout game of 73 points. Pope 1 got 41.1 points from Aaron Jones and 39.8 points from Tevin Coleman. That's 80.9 points just between the two of the three running backs that Pope 1 opted to start this week. Derrick Henry's 6.8 points helped, but Jones and Coleman really had it under control. You also got 25.3 points from Kenny Golladay, 17 points from Pittsburgh's defense, 14.4 points from Carson Wentz, and 11 from Zane Gonzalez. The full team effort in beating the pants off of Brandon.
I've got to get out of here. I've got to get out of here. Calm down. Get a hold of yourself.
Stewardess, please let me handle this.
I've got to get
Calm down. Now get back to your seat. I'll take care of this. Calm down. Calm down. Get a hold of yourself.
Doctor, you're one on the phone. Everything's gonna be all right. Please.
Sister, please, I'll handle this.
Yourself.
I've got to get out of here. Out of here. I've got to get out of here.
This was Pope 1.0's first high score so far this season. Brandon got 15.5 points from Marlon Mack, 13.9 points from the Tennessee's defense, and 11.6 points from Kirk Cousins. Brandon's 5 bench players combined for more than 55 points, led by 14.8 points from DK Metcalf and 13.3 points from Nick Chubb. Unfortunately, had you gotten credit for your bench plus your starting lineup, you'd have still lost by 35. Week 8's closest game was between Chris's three-headed monster and Derek's Freeman fuck-up project, in which Chris held off Derek 128.6 to 127.9, a .7 point margin of victory. Chris got 35 points from Latavius Murray, 24 points from New England's D, and 23.2 points from Julio Jones. Chris could have widened this gap a little by starting Auden Tate over Olabasi Johnson, the wide receiver for the Vikings. That was a 5.3 point swing. Derek got 27.9 points from Drew Brees in his first game back, 23.5 points from Julian Edelman, 18.8 points from Stephon Diggs, and 16.9 points from DJ Chark. Derek seemed to be on pace to grab the win here, needing only 6 points to take the win. Unfortunately, you opted to start Mark Walton over Miles Sanders. Walton got the start in lieu of Kenyon Drake, but he still has to play behind Miami's line, so he struggled to amass his 4.9 points. Meanwhile, you opted to bench Miles Sanders, who scored more than 6 points in every single game this season except for Week 1. You were right there, but Walton's fumble in the fourth quarter killed your chance at catching Chris. It was just 3 weeks ago when Odell Beckham Jr.'s late fumble gifted you a win over Lee. The fantasy football gods giveth, and the fantasy football gods taketh away. In other games, Drew's Run CMC thumped my Melvin Gordon Bombay 159.2 to 116. My decision to trade for Jared Goff turned out to be a poor decision, as everything Goff threw went directly into Drew's pocket, with Cooper Kupp blowing up for 34.5 points on 220 receiving yards and a touchdown. Oh, and then there were the other 4 guys who all put up 20-plus points. CMC with 28.5, Rodgers with 27.1, Dalvin Cook with 25.6, and San Francisco's defense with 22. Drew continues his assault on the standings, after this win moving up to the 4th spot and taking the lead in total point scores. My wide receiver core let me down this week. I left my 2 best wide receiver games on the bench, but it didn't really matter all that much. Among the 5 wide receivers I have on the team, they combined for a total of 238 yards, just 18 yards shy of Cooper Kupp's day, and 0 touchdowns. Led by Jared Goff's 25.9 points, I also got 15.5 points from Austin Hooper and 15 from Detroit's defense. With the loss, I dropped to the 5th spot. Eric's Pew Pews grabbed that first elusive win of the season, defeating Alex's Funkle up 114.3 to 84.7.
Stop making fun of me.
Eric finally got tired of the jokes at his expense and used Mike Evans' 40.3 points and Matt Stafford's 23.4 points to put Alex into the loss column. Travis Kelce added 14.3 points, and you got 12 points from the Minnesota's defense. Joe Mixon finally showed up and scored 15.7 points for his second best performance of the season while riding your bench. We'll see how he does after the Bengals bye with a new QB in Cincy after the Red Rifle, Andy Dalton, was benched on Tuesday. Alex was all about defense and special teams this week, getting 13.3 points from the Rams D and 11 points from Josh Lambo to lead the team in scoring. I had that written up by halftime of the Monday Night Football game, and then Juju Smith-Schuster went off and put up 100 yards and a touchdown to outscore the both of them and kill my narrative about your entire offensive squad sucking.
How rude!
Smith-Schuster ended up putting up 18.8 points on the day. Brandon Cooks getting knocked out of the game on his first target cost you, as a 0-point day was basically a death sentence for you. Getting McCole Hardman in for him would have netted you an additional 15 points, but it didn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. Jason's I Was Saying Boo Earns knocks off Lee's That's Headley 113.9 to 84. Jason continues his march back up the standings, now having won 3 straight to get to 3-5 and to climb out of the 11 spot, jumping up 2 spots to the 9 hole. J Money got 24.3 points from Saquon Barkley, 16.4 points from DeAndre Hopkins, and 16 points from Mason Rudolph. Lee got 24 points from Magic Minshew, 12.5 points from Golden Tate, and 11 points from Royce Freeman. Lee nearly had his best lineup in. You could have squeezed out a single yard worth more of points by getting the ageless wonder Frank Gore in for Mohamed Sanu in your flex spot. It looks like this was a really bad week for you, with both Devontae Adams and Adam Thielen out via injury, and Mark Ingram and Dak Prescott on buys. Lee spent big money last week on Mohamed Sanu, spending $36 to get that 3.3 points. Not real cost effective so far, but with New England, you never know. He could go off for 3 touchdowns next week. That's the problem with New England. You never know what you're going to get.
Our Patriots suck. Blasphemy.
Don't feel bad. You weren't the only one to shell out a ton of money last week. Eric picked up Ty Johnson for $40 and he only managed 4.5 points. Nick's Hootie and the T Blowfish defeat Josh's Please Not Last Again 117.6 to 90.6. Nick had no monster games, but an above-average performance across the board. 21.8 points for Michael Thomas led the solid squad, and another 5 players scored more than 13.8 points, bookended by second wide receiver Tyler Lockett. Nick had his best possible lineup out there this week, having Matt Ryan out for an injury, 2 players on bye, and Kenyon Drake, who was held out by Miami only to be traded to Arizona on Monday afternoon. Josh got 27.7 points from Deshaun Watson, 18.5 points from Jacksonville's D, and 15.5 points from Chris Carson. There could have been a 20-point game swing by getting David Montgomery into the lineup over Matt Breida, and a 17-point swing by getting Sammy Watkins in for D.D. Westbrook. Those 2 moves alone would have gotten you right there, as the losing margin was 27 points. Your biggest busts this week were the 4.2 points from Marvin Jones and 3.4 points from Vance McDonald. As an FYI, the deadline to complete trades in this league is Saturday, November 9th. That is approximately 10 days from now. This week's Stats Corner, the league stat man dropped the ball last week, as he managed to miss a somewhat important milestone, as last week was the 100th game for the original 8 members of the league. The results this week tended to follow the historical trends, as Chris has a 9-2 lead all-time over Derek, Nick has a lead 8-3 over Josh, Pope 1.0 has a lead over Brandon 7-1, and Jason over Lee 7-2. And technically Pope 2.0 over Alex, but a closer margin at 2-0 all time. Playoff odds. I found the website that I used last year to calculate playoff odds, and here they are, with 5 weeks of regular season left to go. The simulator, which runs games for the rest of the season 10,000 times, thinks that the top 5 teams are all but locked into the playoff seeds at this point, but that 6th seed is still up in the air. Derek's got the lead on that at the moment, but I see J Money starting to creep up the percentages down there in 9th. In terms of wagers that are going on, Drew's Jake Kumaroff picked up 2 more catches this week, while Randall Cobb and the Cowboys were on bye. So that makes this a 19-8 in favor of Cobb so far. Pittsburgh won this week and Cleveland lost, putting Pittsburgh ahead of Cleveland for the first time this season. But Pittsburgh is still staring at Baltimore up there 2 games ahead of them. Good luck to everyone in Week 9.